Alright, picking up where we left off here, we were just talking about how you have to pad the jumps at your injection points so that the size of the instruction or instructions, as the case may be, that you are injecting match up to the size of the point that you are injecting at. I want to sort of pause here for a minute. One, because I'm recording these back to back and I just want to stop for a minute and think about it. But also because this is what I was trying to express. I couldn't just pull up the memory viewer and talk about bytes and byte sizes and arrays and memory locations and stuff, 30 videos back in the series. Why this is why I feel that it's important that there's a somewhat decent background in computer science and these concepts, because you know how are you going to explain to someone, as an just as a quick example, say, well, I want to jump to chunk 0 but I have to NOP it. They're going to be like, well, first of all, what the hell's NOP? And second of all, if they understand what a jump is, they're going to be like, well, why do I need to have the extra NOP there? And you're going to say, well, because the bytes, they don't match up. There's 6 bytes here and jumps only a 5-byte instruction. They're going to be like, well, what fucking difference does it make? Well, it makes a huge difference. And we've sort of talked about processors and the bit stream, bit patterns, and things like that. And this is sort of like, you should be hearkening back and applying everything we're talking, or thinking about everything we're talking about in those contexts, because we are way the hell down the rabbit hole at this point. All right, so this is the injection point. What does that mean? It means that Cheat Engine is going to stomp whatever is at this memory location. Whatever instruction is at this memory location, it's going to clobber it and replace it with that. I'm sorry, it's going to replace it with that. And there's no simpler way to say it. And you will see this when we finish rewriting and writing this script. You'll see that this code right here is essentially, you'll see it just show up right here in the memory viewer. And if you're off by 1 NOP, you're toast. And maybe we'll just eliminate the NOP there so that we return on a invalid boundary or something like that, and you'll just watch the program just totally tank. I mean, there'll be nothing crazy. It'll just basically say, Windows, this program has stopped responding, and Windows is searching for a solution, and there's no way in hell that it will ever find one. Maybe it'll come back and just be like, hey, you shouldn't jump around in random crazy spots of memory, but I highly doubt it. So, all right, we've gotten down here. Now we have to deal with the returns. What are the returns? The returns are, where is the program going? Where is our script going to resume execution? Well, we want to tell it to just basically, here's where we're code injecting. We want to tell it to resume execution right here and at the next instruction. How do we do that? Do we have to sort of hard code the next instruction in? No, we don't. All we have to do is just put an instruction after it, or put a label after it. So return increase karma. We're not dealing with decrease karma yet. We're getting to that. We're definitely not going to put a NOP there. Why? Because if we put a NOP in the return increase karma label, we'd be off by 1 byte. So we're just going to do that, and it's blank. Now it looks a little weird. You could maybe put a space there if you wanted to, and you could even sort of get a little crazy and do return points or something like that. But you don't want to do that, because you're going to get into a scenario where you're going to have injection points and then return points, and you have to have these things sandwiched together, because the injection point is a specific location in memory, and the return point has to be immediately after that injection point. If it's not, you're done. There's no other way to say it. Maybe we'll mess around with this in a little bit and see that. So we've basically rewritten the entire script, but let's put a few more spaces here real quick. Let's go over the returns just one more time. Or let's go over the whole script one more time. So what essentially, in a nutshell, is happening here? What's happening here is that the Cheat Engine is going to stomp or clobber, or whatever you want to say, this assembly instruction at 1932 EC39. it is going to replace this instruction with a jump. That jump is going to jump to our allocated memory chunk 0, which is allocated right here, but this is all sort of meta stuff. This stuff is not executed per se. It's just declarations and meta information that sort of allow the script to function. This right here is where chunk 0 starts. So we're going to jump from this instruction, or this memory location more specifically, or just sort of as the case may be, to chunk 0 right here. And we're not going to execute this whole thing because our injection points are telling Cheat Engine how we want to clobber different memory addresses. So when Cheat Engine execute or assembles and evaluates this assembler script, what it's going to do is it's going to read, top to bottom was what we'll say, and it's going to sort of just assemble all this stuff into bytes and bits and instructions and whatnot until it hits the injection points. Once it starts reading the injection points, what Cheat Engine is going to do is it's going to go find this memory location, such as 1932 EC39, as we listed here, and then it's going to tell it to jump. Let me think. Do we have that right? No, we actually have it wrong. See? Again, you got to be careful. What we want to do here is we want to jump to entry increase karma. So what did we have wrong there? Well, we were jumping to the start of new memory, and then it was kind of, that's ridiculous. Like, oh, deal with all this crap. No, there is no idea what we want to do. Instead, our injection point here is increase karma. We're going to label it increase karma during character creation. Bring up Cam Studio. Make sure we got enough time. Yeah, we got time. All right. So what is this location that we are injecting at? This is the location that modifies our karma during character creation. Specifically, it is what increases our karma during character creation. And so what are we going to do? What are we overwriting? We are overwriting this instruction at this memory location, and what we're overwriting it with is a jump instruction to jump to entry increase karma. And we'll actually go in here and just do something like logic goes here, and then there's no logic at this point. But what we're going to do from there is we're going to jump down to process increase karma. The original code was this. We're going to uncomment it because again we want the game to function. We want to enable the script and let the game function normally so that we know our logic in our structure is all set and copacetic and whatnot. And then from there, we can start screwing around with EAX and ESI and things like that. We're not really messing around with decreased karma at this point. It just exists, and there's no declaration down here, and that's going to be a problem. We're not actually going to be able to save the script, but we'll get to that. And then whenever this increased karma is entry increase karma is entered, it'll go through its logic. Then it will jump to process increase karma. So it goes down here, it runs the move instruction and whatever other instructions we have, and then it jumps to return increase karma, which is down here, and it is literally the next instruction after whatever this memory location is. So, can we clear this up at all? Not yet. And the reason why is because we have to actually build out the script. We have entry decrease karma, process decrease karma, return decrease karma. We have to mess around with this a little bit. Now we could basically, let's just make a quick gamble here. Do we want to go in and rip out the decrease karma and just sort of prove the increased karma point? You know what, fuck it, we're going to do that. That way we can see why we built the structure we did. We're gonna get rid of the decreased karma stuff because then when we go back in and we add it, we'll see sort of the categorical way, and why we broke out the script into entry, process, and return. So let's see. We have our alloc. We have increase karma, chunk 0, increase, process increase. It's jumping there. Process increase karma. The original instruction. Jump to return increase. The memory location. The injection point. Jump to increase karma with the NOP. Alright. We're about set. But we're not. And I don't mean NOP. I mean we are not set. Why not? Because what we want to do We're going to minimize this. That's maximize. We're going to minimize that. We're going to minimize, we can't even minimize it. Well, whatever. We'll just leave it. What we are missing is a way to add this script to the cheat table and then have some way to activate and deactivate it. So how do we do that? We could go up to template. We could go to cheat table framework code, but we're not going to do that. I don't like doing it that way because I just don't like doing it that way. So what we're going to do is we're going to introduce ourselves. I gotta shrink this a bit so I can still see the time. We're going to introduce ourselves to the enable and disable sort of meta keywords. These are not assembly instructions. These are what's the best way to put it? These sections, this script will be dealt with in different ways depending on how they exist underneath the enable and disable bracket keywords. I don't know if they have to be capitalized or not, but that's certainly the way that Cheat Engine prefers it, per se. So, what do we mean by enable and disable? Everything under the enable section will be assembled and executed as necessary whenever the script that is added to our little address list over here as soon as we're done messing around over here and we get through walking through it, we're going to be able to add the script to the actual address list, and then we can enable it and disable it just like you would when you download any cheat table with a script. So the enable section determines how Cheat Engine will, or what it will do when the script is enabled, and then the disable section tells Cheat Engine what to do when the script is disabled. So the first thing, absolutely without any exception, that you want to do is you want to dealloc whatever memory you alloced in the enable section. You don't have to specify a size. You don't have to deal with any crap like that. You just want to dealloc, and that's it. Now, I like to sort of break this out a little bit, and I call this housekeeping. So as soon as we get into the realm of, like, we want to have some flags out here that people could set to 1, to enable and disable certain features of our script, and we'll get into how to do that in a little bit, in some of the next videos. I like to put all that crap under the housekeeping section. But there's 2 things that you absolutely have to do. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to deallocate, for the pedantic out there, whatever memory you allocate in the enable section. The next thing you're going to do is you are going to take the memory address that you're injecting at, you're going to paste it down here, because essentially, in case you're noticing any sort of similarity here, there's a memory address that we're using for an injection point, and then there's a colon. So it's just a label. I mean, how is it interpreted is slightly different, or it's not slightly different, but there is some sort of syntactic sugar there. But it's just a label, and then you're associating instructions with that label, and that's all it is. So what is 1932EC39? Obviously, it is some instruction in memory, but really it's just a label. It's just like process increase karma is a label. The only difference is that the way that we're using this label refers to some sort of absolute value in memory, and that's sort of the only real tangible difference. But what we have to do is, when we disable the script, we need to restore the original instructions. Because if we disable the script and down here we're deallocating all this memory, none of this stuff exists anymore. So, how the hell is the game going to continue to run? Well, if you want to crash your game, you could just leave off this whole sort of disable section down here. But, I highly recommend not doing that. So what you do is you take the original code, and if you recall the script that Cheat Engine generated for us, it actually labeled it original code. So you take the original code, you paste it underneath the same injection point that you used in enable under the disable section, and then basically what that's saying is Cheat Engine will replace whatever code is at this address with this instruction. And let's talk about that more in the next video.